Well, hi, everyone. It is Friday morning. Jane Monreal here with you. It is just after 9 o'clock. You're watching live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We thank you for downloading the WCNC app to your phone or your Roku or Fire TV. That way you could put it on at home and keep it on and tell your friends and family all about it. Want to talk about the weather. We'll talk about this weekend's weather, of course, but NOAA released their outlook on hurricane season, which is coming up for the Carolinas. Of course, we're going to be affected here. And for that, we want to bring in meteorologist Chris Mulcahy to talk about it because this is kind of in that upper range. Chris?
Yeah, let's call it a normal to above average season is what they're calling. And it's not just the National Hurricane Center. It's also the different offices and schools such as NC State and over at Colorado State University that are all agreeing on one thing, that at least it's going to be a normal season, but likely it's going to be an above normal season. So let's get right to it. So here are the numbers that they said. First off, we have to give you the baseline. The most recent 30-year average, and the next time we're going to have a new 30-year average, is going to be 2030. But on average, we have 14 named hurricanes. And as you know, each and every year there is a hurricane name list, and it has 21 names on there. There are certain letters that are excluded, such as X and Q, because there's not a lot of X and Q names, nor is there X, Y, Z in general. But 14 usually brings us to the letter N. That's usually where we ended, but in many years we've actually completed the alphabet, and that goes onto auxiliary list, but I'm getting off topic. 7 hurricanes is usually what we have, and then 3 major hurricanes. A major hurricane is designated as a Category 3 or greater, something that you never want to have, but realistically, you can have a tropical storm that could sit with the rain, and they can be just as deadly as a Category 4 sometimes. So what the forecast is, and those numbers to the right, I'm calling for 13 to 19 named storms. So 19 would nearly complete the hurricane alphabet for this season. So average to above average. As for hurricanes, pretty much right around that 7 mark on average, up to about 10, and then 3 to 5 major hurricanes. I think that's on brand, and a lot of the other schools agree with that. CSU always likes to pinpoint it. They're more of a betting school. It's going to be 17, 9, and 4. NC State is a little bit more conservative. They're keeping things a little bit closer to normal. I think that they were really banking on what's called La Nada, and that's part of the Enzo cycle. You probably hear saying El Nino and La Nina. Well, there's actually an in-between cycle that doesn't really make a bad hurricane season, but it also doesn't hinder it as well, and we'll get to that. We're going to go a deep dive explainer weather IQ version, but they call for about 2 to 3 major hurricanes. So that's why pretty much I just spent the last 3 minutes to say everyone agrees it's going to be at least an average to an above average season, but you could have 21 storms and it takes one Helene, one Milton that makes all the difference. So before I go into the explainers, do we have any questions from my favorite people? Yes.
Go.
I know we've done a weather IQ on this before.
Yes.
Why does Colorado State University put out a hurricane forecast? Because really, they don't deal with that sort of thing. I know we've
That's
talked
good.
about it, but it's a good refresher.
It's a good refresher. Really plain and simple is just because they have a really strong meteorology program.
Okay.
So it just depends where you are. I actually applied to Colorado State. I applied to San Jose State, and that's in California.
Right.
So some of these areas that you wouldn't really think about it. Ohio State, Brad Panovich went there. So there's a lot of these schools that are kind of like leading edge as far as research goes. And of course, the name is mistaking me, but one of the greatest meteorologists in the world is usually behind the main forecast from Colorado State University. So it also depends on what professors that you have there. Also, NC State, the reason why they do theirs, obviously North Carolina has hurricanes. Yeah. But actually, the North Carolina Climate Office is associated with there. So if you want to know anything about climatology, I have my man Corey that works over at NC State. They do a lot of the research specifically at that university. So a lot of these universities are actually hub for research for medical science of different things like that. But yeah, CSU and NC State are actually one of the biggest weather research schools in the country. Great question.
Good question.
Yeah.
All right. So
At first, I was like, I don't know if I know the answers. Oh, no, it was there. It was there somewhere in the brain.
all right. So end of the month is the start of hurricane season.
Yes.
And so you're looking at average to above average hurricanes. And so, and why is that? The La Nina, no, because we're in a La Nina, not an El Nino.
Well, we were in a La Nina going to a La Nada.
La Nada.
And the only reason, and I'm going to explain all this.
Oh, okay.
The Enzo cycles, it's called the El Nino Southern Oscillation, is the most difficult thing to understand in meteorology, so I'm going to make it as simple as possible and tell you why it even matters for us. But this one is really easy to understand. For a basic hurricane to form, there pretty much fickle creatures that they need it just right. So pretty much baby bear's porridge. They can't have a lot of things that disturb them. They don't like dry air, but they also need they need water temperatures to be 80 degrees, and then that's down to a depth of about 100 feet, 150 feet. Well, our water temperatures are soaring. This is May. These temperatures, look closely, this graph that you're looking at right here is the ocean temperature anomaly. So basically that means, are the temperatures above average or are they below average where they should be? In the Atlantic and the Gulf, think about it, that's where Milton formed. That's where Beryl really became an intense tropical 5, earliest on record, and that's where Helene formed. You have already a water temperature off the Keys at 89 degrees. That's already 9 degrees above the baseline what hurricanes need to survive and thrive. There is actually a record in the Keys that the temperatures in the shallow basins there got to around 100 degrees. So you're talking about literal bath water. When it gets close to 90, that can easily rapidly intensify a hurricane. That's usually not until about September that we hit our peak, and that's why September 10th is the peak of hurricane season, because the water temperatures, we already have it almost boiling as far as ocean temperatures go at that point. And this is one of the biggest things about climate change. It's not just the air, it's about the water temperatures as well that's completely changing things, killing off coral in certain parts, but then also making these storms stronger. But then sometimes it can also mess with the flow. The biggest thing that we've seen over the last 10 years is that because of these warmer temperatures, you don't have the big contrast, which allows things to move. Storms are moving slower. I can name 3 in 3 years. 2018, Florence. 2017, Harvey, most devastating flooding that Texas has ever seen. And then Dorian, at one point, was moving at 0 to 1 miles per hour as a Category 5, 180 mile per hour sustained storm over the Bahamas. The worst case scenario now is when these storms stall out and they don't move. And so that's always kind of a concern. That's what we're seeing is, yes, hurricanes are getting stronger, but truly is in the 90s and the 80s, you were getting still really strong Category 5s. You had Andrew. You had the great storm of Labor Day in 1935. Storms have gotten this strong, but they haven't been moving this slow. So that's also another concern. We get another slow mover. Now let's talk about the most difficult part of this. So the reason why we even have El Nino and La Nada is because of the water temperatures near the equator west of South America. Well, what does that matter? Well, if it's too warm above where it should be, or if it's too cool, that actually changes the global circulation. So at certain points, you're going to have either like a monsoon season to the southwest, or it's drought, depending if it's El Nino or La Nada. So what we're dealing with right now is literally the water temperature over there, as far as the anomalies where it should be, is at near a 0. So we're smack dab in the middle. So we don't have the effects of El Nino, which is actually bad for us in the good for us in the hurricane season because it inhibits a lot of them from forming. But whenever you have a really strong La Nina, what happened in 2005? Do you know a storm named Katrina? Well, it went from La Nada to La Nina, and I'm actually going to simplify this. Since we're right in between here, when you have La Nina, it actually is good for the Pacific, but it's bad for the Atlantic. And the reason why is there's no wind shear. So wind shear is the change of wind direction with height. When that happens, it cuts into this fickle creature. I told you it needs to be just right, so it's not able to circulate right. It gets all slanty, gets upset with itself because it's not doing what it should. So you have a lot of wind shear. And still in the case that we're at, we're transitioning from this, so we still have those conditions that there's not as much of that wind shear. So there's still the water temperatures, still a favorable environment, and it's really will come down to how much dust or dry air is going to be in the atmosphere, but that usually clears up by July heading into August. So we have all these factors that are really just starting to line up one after another, between those warmer ocean temperatures to the right cycle across the United States, that we're going to have at least that normal to above average season. And we'll wrap it up one more time. It only takes just one, and last season we actually had 3 that got retired again: Beryl, Milton, and Helene is a name that we'll never forget here in the Carolinas, which was a whole other deal because it was the rain before then that truly made Helene so historic.
Okay, Chris, so we will just be prepared for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, but June 1st is the start.
Oh,
Sometimes it can
1st.
happen earlier. Yeah,
Okay.
June 1st is the start. November 30th is the end, but oftentimes, no, November 30th is where it goes to. It can go
Oh,
through
no, but the
December.
peak is like September.
September 10th.
September
Yeah,
10th.
but it's usually August, September, October that we have some of the worst storms. So we're always going to be watching here. And the good news is here on WCNC Plus, I love talking about hurricanes. I don't love what they do.
Sure.
But the science, we're going to learn more about hurricanes. You guys are going to be hurricane experts by the end of this season. Because
Okay.
anytime.
You'll be hanging with us.
Yeah, anytime there's
a
we're
threat.
going to know the what, the why, the when, the how here on WCNC Plus, the Impact Studio, as the season grows. So I'm here for you.
We can certainly count on you for that. Thank you, Chris.
Of course.
All of the info as we prepare for hurricane season, just over a week away. Can you believe it?
No.
I know. Let's stay in the now
Yeah.
and look forward to the weekend. Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
We are here in the Live Impact Studio. You are watching WCNC Plus, and we appreciate your time. Speaking of the weekend, of course, a long weekend for many, Memorial Day being Monday, and we honor those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. We do have this weekend, it's a big tradition in the Carolinas, isn't it, Carlene? The Coca-Cola 600, that's where she's got to be. Car totally excited.
Yes.
And we have been pumped up all week.
Yep.
The gals in the main studio talked to who they talked to, Car? The organizers?
Jonathan Coleman with Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's one of the PR senior director, I believe.
All
of
right.
the Speedway.
So let's get pumped because Megan Bragg and Lisa Washington talked to him earlier. This is their interview on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Joining us this morning is Jonathan Coleman from Charlotte Motor Speedway to talk about this weekend's event. Good morning, Jonathan. Speed Street.
Good morning.
Yes, Speed Street is always a very big hit. And so tell us what people can expect this weekend.
Absolutely. The forecast sounds awesome, so I would just throw in at a 100% chance of fun out here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You may not be able to hear them behind me, but we've actually got the NASCAR racing experience already on track this morning, giving some of our campers a fresh dose of, you don't even need coffee in the mornings when you're out here at the Speedway. So tons of fun all weekend long. We're kicking things off today with the ARCA Series and the Craftsman Truck Series races, rolling all the way through Sunday with our big military pre-race salute to the troops and the 66 running of the Coca-Cola 600.
I'm sure it's going to be just electrifying. All right. So, Jonathan, for those who are new to Charlotte, what are some things that they should know about the weekend events?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to know is that it is an experience. It's not just the race on Sunday. So, as I mentioned, we've got racing today. We've got racing tomorrow. We have a huge military pre-race that we do to honor the men and women of the U.S. Armed Services. We've got concerts that accompany those, so you can come out and BetMGM Speed Street is our fan zone. It's right outside of the racetrack. So you think of like a big county fair atmosphere. We've got an 80s and 90s tribute group tonight called Hairball that's going to be performing. We've got Smash Mouth that's going to be out there tomorrow night. And then here in the infield, actually where I am now, we're going to have Old Dominion on Sunday that's performing a concert as well. So it's not just the racing. If you're not familiar with racing, that is absolutely okay. There is guaranteed to be something to do and something to enjoy for the family out here all weekend long.
Yeah, definitely. I love Smash Mouth. But last year's Coca-Cola 600 was shortened due to rain. Now, thankfully, we should be okay this weekend. But how are you guys preparing for any potential weather challenges?
Yeah, we joke a lot in motorsports. We have what we call the vortex theory. So as long as we can get the cars started and get them going in circles, I'm not a meteorologist, but we feel like we can create that vortex and kind of keep all the clouds and all the rain away. In the event that that's not successful, we obviously, with 66 years of history, we've had some history of weather impacted events. So we bring in jet dryers and all sorts of equipment to get out there on the racetrack and try to dry the track as quickly as we can. We use everything from social media to text alerts to emails to in-venue PA system alerts to kind of keep the fans updated if there's any schedule changes or if we need to clear the grandstands to keep people safe. So we have, unfortunately, I guess, had a little bit of experience, but we've gotten pretty good at being able to manage. And with the forecast, it looks like that should not be an issue. We're looking forward to a great weekend with great weather and even better racing.
For sure. Now, as someone who has been named Employee of the Year with the Speedway, congratulations, by the way, talk about what it takes to pull off something like this. We're talking about one of NASCAR's biggest races. What's it take to pull this off? Also, do you have a favorite memory?
Yeah, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of work. I was honored to be named Employee of the Year a few years back, but I am one of a lot of people that really put in a lot of effort to focus on this weekend and make it really special on and off the racetrack. So there is a crazy amount of logistics and coordination when you think about all that goes to putting on a major event like the Coca-Cola 600. You know, whether that's making sure fans can park and get to their seats easily, making sure we put on an exciting event that, you know, we can't control what happens on the racetrack. We leave that to the professional drivers. But making sure the concerts are a lot of fun, making sure we've got other activities for everyone to enjoy, you know, making sure we do our due diligence on Memorial Day weekend and really honor the troops. You know, that is a special piece of kind of what we hold dear as having this race date, and being able to do that and being able to have representation from all 6 branches of the military come in and to be able to celebrate them and love on them on Memorial Day weekend. You know, all of that is really key, and that really leads into probably my favorite memory. We have a lot of things going on, and it's really easy to kind of get caught up in all of the things that happen to make race day come together. But I have kind of my own little personal tradition where I will walk out during the national anthem and stand right in the middle of the infield, just kind of find a little place to myself in the middle of all the hustle and bustle, and to hear taps played and to see the flyovers and to experience this patriotism with 100,000 fans all around me. You know, that is every year for me. That is the top. So I'm always looking forward to Sunday. Hopefully a great race, but just a few minutes before that race, you know, there's a 5 or 10 minute window there with the national anthem package and all that we do to be able to celebrate the memories of our fallen. That always makes for a really impactful and really special moment for me personally.
That was like a special moment for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so here on WCNC Plus, we like to have fun, and of course, we're going to tease you a little bit, Jonathan. The crew at North Wilkesboro feeling pretty good after last weekend. Who does race weekend better, Charlotte Motor Speedway or Wilkesboro?
That's a great question. They definitely set a bar high, and I can say that they set a bar high because a lot of the people that are behind the scenes at North Wilkesboro Speedway are the same people that are behind the scenes here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So, you know, I obviously am going to favor Charlotte just a little bit more because this is the home track, and this is, you know, this event for me is just so special because it's the biggest thing we do all year long. But I got to hand it to the team at North Wilkesboro Speedway because they're a lot of my teammates. They put on a great show last weekend for the All-Star race. The racing was great. All of the entertainment surrounding the event was great. And they really, you know, they really are going to make sure we step up our game and do even better to continue to raise that bar this weekend.
That was a good answer.
Yes.
All right, Jonathan Coleman with the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Thanks so much for speaking with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, are you so excited? We have a lot of visitors, Carlene.
It's a big weekend.
It is a big weekend. Oh my gosh. So enjoy yourselves. It sounds like the weather is going to cooperate as well. Fantastic. Here is your weekend look at some of the beauty shots we have around the Charlotte area. Let's take you around town, shall we? If you are heading to Uptown, look at that. Maybe lunch outside. Start your weekend off that way. Why not, right? Let's go to Lake Norman. Lake Norman, traffic not too bad if you want to head up to the lake as well. We have a beautiful picture there, so waters seem to be nice and calm as well. And it looks nice and calm in Myrtle Beach. If you are heading out to the beach, what do they call it? The Dirty Myrtle?
They call it Dirty Myrtle. It's for reasons we won't talk about.
Yeah, lovingly, it is lovingly
I love Myrtle.
the Dirty Myrtle,
Yes.
right? Okay. Again, and if you are going to stay local, why not? Because there's so much action here, not only in Concord for the Charlotte Speedway, but right here in the heart of the Queen City. And speaking of a lot of events happening around town, May, if you don't know, is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. It's a great way to honor all of the cultures for Asia and a weekend event is the Philippines Fest. That is coming to Charlotte this weekend. So joining us this morning, Joseph Olson and Sophia Dominic, talking about some of the upcoming celebrations and the festival. Thanks for coming in, you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time so early here on a Friday.
For sure. Thanks for having us.
You know, Charlotte is so rich with culture. Definitely the Asian heritage is part of that. And Filipino Americans, which both of you are part of the fabric of the Charlotte area, the Queen City. What is so unique about the Filipino heritage as you know it?
I'd say it's pretty unique compared to other Asian backgrounds. But at the same time, I believe that it's not as well represented within the U.S., especially in this region. And so that's what we're trying to do with Philippines Fest, is help share our culture and the uniqueness that we share in terms of food and specifically food this weekend. But yeah.
I mean, how about for you, Sophia?
I feel like Filipino culture and everything, it just feels like a warm hug. Everyone that I've met that's Filipino is just so kind, and I would think the Philippines Fest will really help us show that with everyone else in Charlotte.
You know, the culture in general for everywhere around the world, it's through food so many times. Food, that is part of the tradition. What are some of the Filipino foods that people can look forward to this weekend? And why is that so important to identify the Filipino culture?
I'm specifically looking forward to the barbecue from So Sarap from New York and the calamansi juice from Logan & Co. I went to New York for 2 Philippines Fests in the past, and the barbecue is something I always look forward to.
Oh, yeah, that is so good. What is different about it? What is the taste?
I can't give away all the secrets.
I know, right?
One of them I will give away is 7-Up. You have to put 7-Up in the marinade.
That's right. A little tang, a little sweetness. I
Yeah.
can see that. Yep, love it. And then Joe, you have the Kuya Bear, of course. That exhibit, or not exhibit. I want to say exhibit because it is food. It's an exhibit of flavors. And as my mouth is watering right now, looking at this video from Philippines Fest last November. But yeah, what is at your tent?
So we have some classic items, we offer classic items and some fusion. So we'll have this weekend a tapsilog burrito, which is tapsilog is a traditional Filipino breakfast with a fried egg and marinated steak and fried rice. But we put that in a burrito just to make it more portable and accessible. But then we'll also be one of the main tents serving lumpia, which is like a Filipino spring roll. If you go to any Filipino party, there's bound to be mountains of lumpia. We're making it cheap so everyone can come try and eat as much as they want. We're bringing a lot. Hopefully we'll have enough for the weekend.
There's lumpia right here on this video.
Oh yeah, that's lumpia right there. Yep.
So delicious. And what is it about Filipino Fest, or Philippines Fest rather, that attracted a lot of people last year?
Like I said, I think Filipino culture is not represented well compared to other cultures, Asian cultures, but I think people want to know more. And so last year we didn't really promote much because we're bringing this festival from New York to North Carolina. It was the first time. And our expectations were low, but I mean, you were there last year. The crowds were amazing.
No, it was great.
And so this being the second one, everyone's more prepared. Hopefully the lines aren't too bad this year. But we're really excited to see a good turnout and share, again, our culture with everyone here in Charlotte.
What do people need to know if they want to get tickets or go this weekend? It's at Resident Culture, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what else do people need to know about this weekend?
It's from 12 to 7 p.m. at Resident Culture, and you can go to Philippines Fest on Instagram to get tickets. It's completely free, but we're using tickets as a way to track attendance to see how many people turn up to the event. But yeah.
All right. Very good. And you have 2 themes, though, right?
Yes.
There's one theme tomorrow, Palenque, and then there's Ube. Ube Land?
Ube Land, yes.
Ube Land.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the 2 themed days?
Yeah, so Palenque means like open air market, and so we'll have all the vendors will have primarily just savory foods, showcasing Filipino food. variety from all over the Philippines. So we have around 16 vendors doing that. And then on Sunday is Ube Land, kind of going along with the rise in Filipino culture popularities. Ube goes hand in hand with that, which is ube is a Filipino yam, and it's like a sweet vanilla nutty flavor. And so 10 of the vendors on Sunday will be serving primarily ube items.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. And then there's music, and then of course, if you're at Resident Culture, you can get your beer on to go with the lumpia.
Yeah.
And the lechon and the rice. And my mouth is watering just looking at all of this food. And you can smell the food from blocks away.
Yes.
So that is always going to be a good time. Well, I look forward to it. I don't know which day I'm going to go to, but both sound really, really good. Thanks, you guys, for coming in and looking forward to your event. Wishing you success. It sounds like it's going to be a great turnout anyway, right? Tickets are free, so but you do need to get online. And what is the website?
On Instagram at Philippines Fest.
Philippines Fest.
Yes,
Easy
in their
enough.
bio. The link is in the bio. So.
All right. Joseph and Sophia joining us here in the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus. Philippines Fest coming to Charlotte. Who thought it would be such a great event? But go and treat yourself to some culture and celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Month. All right, thanks, you guys. Oh, my goodness. We're just going to keep this Fun Friday train going. And what do we have? We got Brad Gilly, because back to Coca-Cola 600. If you listen on some of the broadcasts, he's the guy. He's the guy in pit row.
Listening at the track, if you have the headphones on like I do, you're listening to Brad.
Yeah, all right, so he's kind of your play-by-play guy, and he's got some insight for the weekend. Of course, our Nick Carboni talked to him here in the Live Impact studio in preparation for Coca-Cola 600. If you missed it, here it is on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
All right, welcome back into the Live Impact studio. I'm Nick Carboni, sports director here at WCNC Charlotte. It is May, and around here that means two things: golf, and we just wrapped up the PGA Championship, and NASCAR. NASCAR running at its true home here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. We had North Wilkesboro last weekend, another successful all-star race, and we've got the Coca-Cola 600 coming right on the heels of that this Memorial Day weekend. So we had to bring in somebody who could talk about all of that and talk about it well, and he does it every week for a living. Brad Gilly from Performance Racing Network does Fast Talk with Doug Rice and Alexis Erickson. You can find that every single week. GoPRN.com. Brad, thanks for joining me, man. I know it was a fun weekend up in North Wilkesboro.
Oh my gosh, it was great. Doug Rice and I actually had a blast because we went up there and we were just the PA announcers. We didn't have to worry about broadcasting or anything. And that's what's fun, because you get to really bring the energy in the building. And not that they needed us for that, because the action on the track honestly spoke for itself. It was just, it's such an amazing weekend and an amazing piece of history.
What is it like to be there? I mean, because we see it on TV, and I've been there, and you could just tell the people that are there are just so into it. And they are at every track that the sport goes to, but there's some extra meaning at North Wilkesboro, feels like. What does it feel like?
Yeah, so I look at it this way. Imagine, and I'll think of like, a big concert that's been here in like the last 4 or 5 years. Imagine the Rolling Stones, right, who played at Panthers Stadium. Imagine if they were playing at a nightclub somewhere in downtown Charlotte, and you could go be there and feel that energy. That's kind of what North Wilkesboro is like, because all of NASCAR's history is there, and the way that track looked when it closed in 1996 is pretty similar to the way it looks today. I mean, a few modern upgrades, but it still has that same soul, if you will. And I think that's the cool thing. The people who were there are just having a great time. It's easy to get around when you're on property, and it's fun to just see the history and feel like you're at something special. And I think that's maybe the best way I can describe it.
Absolutely, and you can feel it through the audio and the video on the broadcast. So let's put a pin in the All-Star race real quick, because the Hall of Fame news is the most recent thing in NASCAR. Hall of Fame class of 26 coming out last night. We got Kurt Busch, really the headliner. You got Harry Gant, Ray Hendrick, the modified driver, getting in on the Pioneer era ballot. Humpy Wheeler, landmark award winner. Do you have any Humpy Wheeler stories for us? I've never never gotten a chance to meet Humpy, but he's a legend. If you go to Charlotte Motor Speedway, you're going to hear Humpy stories.
You know, I'll almost give my version of like almost everyone's Humpy story because a lot of it is the same. Number one, that man can tell stories, and he lived all of them. You know, when you look at the history of our sport, Humpy lived it. And you know, we talk about him as the title of the president and general manager of Charlotte Motor Speedway, but he was so much more to so many people. Humpy was the person that when a young driver was coming up, he would counsel or advise that driver. When a young reporter was coming into NASCAR, you know, he would say, hey, look, you know, if you're going to cover the sport, this is really what you need to look at and what you need to focus on and things like that. You look at our drivers today, from Kyle Busch to Joey Logano and, you know, literally people who are champions of our sport, a lot of them came up driving Legends cars. That was Humpy's idea. That was his design. So Humpy made everyone better, and I think that's the best thing. And my personal experience with him, he was the guy that, you know, you look at Humpy before you meet him for the first time, and you think, here's this larger-than-life person, and he is. Don't get me wrong. Here's this larger-than-life person that's walking up to me and greeting me by name. Here's this larger-than-life person that the conversation we're having, you feel like it's the most important thing at the moment, and that, to me, is Humpy.
All class and now in the class of 2026 for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. All right, we got to talk about Kurt Busch. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's won some of the Crown Jewel races. He's won 34 Cup Series races as well. Longevity and excellence over time is what stands out to me. When you think about Kurt Busch's career and journey as it was, what stands out to you?
Performance. You know, Kurt, it's funny because Kurt was really the beginning of the era of young drivers. I mean, Jeff Gordon is really that person. But Kurt came in and almost had like no street cred, no skins on the wall, no anything. Yesterday he was talking at the Hall of Fame. He's like, 1999, I'm driving a Legends car around the bull ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A year later, I'm qualifying 10th in a Cup race, beating people like Dale Earnhardt and so on. So Kurt comes in as this goofy-looking kid with an attitude that I think people looked at and were like, come on, man, who are you? Really? You're going to come in here like he was West Coast when this sport wasn't West Coast. But then he proved it out on the racetrack. You know, goes out there and wins 5 races at Bristol, wins the Daytona 500 late in his career, wins a championship early in his career. I mean, he did everything pretty much that there is to do in the sport and then some.
You know, unlike Humpy Wheeler, I have gotten the chance to meet Kurt Busch, and you know, I'm coming in from the outside, but I've watched racing over the years, and I've seen some of the on-track stuff and the battles and the disputes, and I'm like, that's not the guy I just met. What do you know about Kurt, just the human being and the individual?
So it's, you know, Kurt, on and off the track, I mean, you know, not going to sugarcoat it. You know, he was a guy with, I don't know, a lot of angst, a lot of attitude, a very short temper in a lot of ways. And on the track, you saw the short temper. You also saw it off the track as well. And when I think of Kurt Busch, you have to think of all of those things. When I think of Kurt Busch in the Hall of Fame, I think about what he did on the racetrack and the things that he accomplished, because he went up there against the best of the best, people who had been doing this, you know, since he was probably 8 years old, and went out there and was beating them on the racetrack. You know, but it was that same fire that we saw with his temper at times that also fueled him. And he wasn't afraid to yell at anybody, whether it was his crew chief, a reporter, or someone else. But he also was a person that when you sit down face to face with him is extremely engaging, extremely nice. You know, when he's away from the field of play, when the chin strap is loosened from the helmet, if you will. Great guy.
All right, Brad Gilley here from Performance Racing Network. Let's talk about North Wilkesboro on the track. Christopher Bell said it was some of the best short track racing he's seen. Well, he had the benefit of winning and hoisting the $1 million check. What did you think of the racing on the track?
I thought the racing was incredible. You know, 2 years ago we ran on the original surface, or the one that was still there for 25 years. Last year it was the first year it was repaved, but they tried 2 different tires, a softer tire and what they were calling the primary tire at the time. Joey Logano went out there on the softer tire and led pretty much every lap, all but one. This year everyone came back, everyone's on the same tire, everyone's doing this. And the way they repaved the racetrack, actually the bottom lane is a different, let's call it sandpaper, a different grit of sandpaper than the middle lane than the top lane. So what they did was really genius, and it worked this second year. So drivers could drive up next to someone, run door to door, push them up the racetrack, do that. What they couldn't do is just drive underneath someone and blow them away. So it meant we just had cars side by side, lap after lap after lap. It was awesome.
And you know, there were fireworks, literally and figuratively. Nobody got punched in the face this year, as far as I know. But Joey Logano with kind of a swing with his comment about Christopher Bell saying he beat us with less of a car. What did you make about the ending, the on-track stuff between those two, and Logano's comments after?
I'm here for it all. I mean,
Right? Aren't we?
seriously.
Yeah.
Look, if you're the guy on the losing end of that, you're going to be mad, right?
Yep.
If you're the guy on the winning end of it, you're going to be happy. You're holding up $1 million check. If you're Joey Logano, and he's even said this since, you know, look, I would have raced Christopher the same way. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But that's what the All-Star race is about. It's about like a winner-take-all mentality to go out there and win $1 million. But for me, a good race is a combo of everything. I want to see passing. I want to see, you know, pit stops. I want to see wrecks. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like I always say, how do you know that they're pushing it to the edge if you don't ever see them push it over the edge? We saw people pushing it over the edge in many different ways, whether with pit road mistakes, whether wrecks, whether pushing each other's buttons. We had all of those things. Like everything that goes into a NASCAR race, the ingredients, that was it right there Sunday night.
All right, Christopher Bell. I mean, look out, folks. I mean, this guy's winning left and right. He's the defending Coke 600 winner. We're going to talk about that race soon. Now he's got an all-star race under his belt. I think he's got 19 Cup Series wins in like 4.5 seasons. He's kind of understated sometimes, and his personality doesn't stand out as much as some of the guys in his class, so to speak. But what have you made of his career so far and where it can go? And this was a big win for him. It's not a points win, obviously, but that was a big one for him to pick up.
It really was. I'm a big Christopher Bell fan. Being a Texas guy, he's an Oklahoma guy. You know, you get someone from your region, and all of a sudden he does big things, whether it was trucks, Xfinity, and now in Cup. I think that's really cool. But this is what I like about Christopher as a driver. Number one, he's got an amazing crew chief in Adam Stevens, and the two of those gel together in a great, great way. But this is one thing Christopher has that it takes a lot of drivers years to understand, and good decisions on the racetrack. A lot of drivers can go out there and pass cars and run fast and make good pit stops and all of that, but sometimes you have to know when to go and know when not to go. And Christopher makes good decisions on the racetrack. That's a veteran, and he's early in his life a veteran, and he's going to be here doing this for a while.
And you got to know where to be when it's raining, because that's what he did last year at the 600. Although, you know, well earned. Last question about North Wilkesboro. I mean, this has been a 3 or 4 year journey now. It's gone from great story to, as we said, great racing. And like I mentioned, I mean, whether you're there or you're just watching, and if you haven't been, I highly suggest, you know, the next chance you have to go see Cup racing there, do it, or any racing there. It's going to be hard to not race there for the Cup Series in the future. I mean, I feel like it's gotten to that point. How do you think do you think they kind of try to work North Wilkesboro in going forward after the success of the last couple of years?
I don't know what's going to happen next year. So that's as far as I can forecast. I genuinely don't know. But it's funny. I went that weekend, and Doug Rice and I were up in the PA booth. I go, man, imagine this with 13 more cars on the track, like a full field points race. But then as everything went, I kind of shifted, and I thought, but why? Like, this is really cool. You have a very special place, a unique place. You have NASCAR's history and roots. Maybe this should just be a special event. And I don't know that it can live on like that forever, don't get me wrong. If it was just me making a choice based on whatever, I would say, let's leave the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro. Let's ride this out, because a lot of people should get to experience this for what it is now. And if at a certain point it's like, okay, All-Star race, we've done that for however many years. Okay, the next new thing you can do is make it a points race and run a full field 400-lap event, something like that. So I don't think we have to dive into that just yet. But at a certain point, I think we do. And I think it'll be really cool when we do.
Seems like a sweet spot right now. That's for sure after this weekend. All right, turning to the Coca-Cola 600 as we continue our chat with Performance Racing Network's Brad Gilley. Every driver wants to win the Cup Series championship. Every one of them wants to win the Daytona 500, but if you ask all of them to a driver, the Coke 600 is high on that list. Why is that?
It's one of the crown jewels. Number one, it's the longest race of the year, and that it's the longest race in any series, effectively, in what we do. I mean, I know there are off-road races that go 1,000 miles and all of that, but it's the longest single closed circuit race that exists right now. So number one, that's big. History is there. This is Charlotte Motor Speedway, you know, and we have some legendary tracks in motorsports, from Daytona to Charlotte to Indianapolis, where we're racing this weekend as well. And it's one of NASCAR's NASCAR's crown jewels. So when you talk about, you mentioned the Hall of Fame. We just saw Kurt Busch go in. You know, one of the things you talk about when you talk about people's careers, a champion, a Coca-Cola 600 winner, a Daytona 500 winner, you add these races into that as well. The Southern 500 at Darlington, the same thing. So it's all of it that goes into it. And doing this in its traditional spot on Memorial Day weekend since the beginning, I mean, is just such an amazing spot on the schedule. So it's one of the crown jewels.
And it's obviously, it wraps up such a fantastic day of motorsports. You've got the Indy 500, Monaco Grand Prix. Each of the three races are such unique tests. What is the biggest test of the 600, and does it kind of lie in the name there?
Endurance. So the Indianapolis 500, and I love the Indy 500, don't get me wrong. You know, it starts and it ends in the sun shining the whole time. The Coca-Cola 600, that's what makes it different. And they talk about Charlotte being a track that swings in the way the car handles on the racetrack from day to night. And literally half the race is in the day, the other half is at night. And you might be just lights out fast the first 200 laps, and then all of a sudden lost the final 200, or vice versa, or maybe you're good through both. But that's the biggest test. This is the only race where, when I was working on pit road, I would not see like snacks and sandwiches brought to crew members. I would see dinner. This is the only race where I see drivers being handed sandwiches during pit stops and things like that, because, you know, they could be in that race car racing for 4 or 5 hours or more. And it is literally the only race where everything about it is different in that regard, and it's the endurance aspect of it.
Yeah, it is a long haul flight for sure. Okay, Brad Gilly, what are the storylines that stand out entering the Coke 600? But I'm going to put an asterisk on that, besides Kyle Larson, because we're going to get to all that.
Yeah, we'll save that. The storylines, I think, are numerous. You have a couple of big-name drivers who haven't won yet that are Coca-Cola 600 champions. Ryan Blaney, he is probably one of the top 3 fastest cars all season long, and whatever has kept him out of victory lane. I think that's one of the big storylines among the drivers who haven't won. Chase Elliott is another person who, while, look, we've only seen him win one race over the last couple of years, last year at Texas, still, he's a Coca-Cola 600 winner. And Chase Elliott is one of those people that you look at and you say, okay, when is this going to happen for him again? So I think a lot of people are watching that among all of the storylines. And the fact is, all right, who can start stacking up points now among our race-winning drivers? We've only had 7 drivers win in 12 races. You know, and that seems like a low number by comparison to the past couple of years. But is someone else going to continue to separate themselves from the field, or is someone new going to come in and maybe take a big trophy?
Are any of those winless drivers, and you can extend it outside of the 600, like who is going into this race kind of getting on that desperation line? Like, summer's about to be here. It's going to be harder and harder to pick up a playoff spot. Like, who needs a win this weekend?
I look at Brad Keselowski is going to need a win to get into the playoffs. I mean, he's over 100 points behind the playoffs cut line, and that's assuming the cut line stays where it is, because if someone outside of the top 16 in points wins, then the cut line moves up to the next spot and so on. He's awful this year, and when he's not awful, they've had bad luck. You know, they've had some nice days and they've had some really bad days. That's the biggest one. Truthfully, and I know they're appealing their penalty, but his teammate Chris Buescher, he went from 12th in the standings to 25th on a 60-point penalty. I mean, that's huge. That puts him into must-win territory, even though we still have 14 races to go until the playoffs. So now we have teams that are potentially good, historically race-winning teams, whose backs are against the wall, and that's kind of cool.
How has this year's intermediate package on the track informed you about what we might be able to expect this weekend?
It's weird. In some ways it's been consistent, in others it's been sporadic. Take a guy like Ross Chastain. They went to Homestead, a 1.5 mile track, and were awful. They go to Texas, and he goes from 31st to finish 2nd. They go to Kansas, they're mediocre again. So what's Charlotte going to bring? You know, I look at that. But then I do look at Denny Hamlin, consistently fast on these tracks. He's had bad luck the last few weeks. I look at William Byron and Kyle Larson. These drivers have been consistently fast. Honestly, one person that people don't talk about, and I think they should, is Alex Bowman. His 1.5 mile record here recently, and I say recently, the past few years, is like top 3 in the series. He really is that good. So I think those are the drivers that run consistently well, and there are some other drivers who have struggled a little bit.
All right, now let's talk about Kyle Larson and double duty. You know, maybe it's because of the PGA Championship, and in my world, we're talking about all the different sports in Charlotte. We had NFL schedule released last week. We had, you know, the NBA lottery, and we don't have to dissect what happened there again for the Charlotte Hornets, but it seems like it's becoming the norm to like expect, okay, Kyle Larson, of course he's qualifying and he's going to do, it's still a big deal though. Like this is a massive deal in motorsports to pull double duty, to attempt to run the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same weekend. What have you thought about the lead up to this year's attempt before we kind of dive into how it may go?
Yeah, I know the first year is always going to be bigger, but to me the first year was different in that first year running an Indy car, he had a lot of practice, but he goes to Indianapolis and it's like, wow, like he's good.
Yeah,
like he's taking
lead laps.
Yeah. I mean, he's just everything. Mm-hmm. This year leading up to it, he goes out in April for like a reconfirmation test or whatever and wrecks the car. He goes into the month of May, wrecks the car, qualifies 21st. So it's not like the same, wow, look at what Kyle Larson's doing, because we already saw what he could do. He was running top 10 until he had a speeding penalty last year. So I think now the bigger question is the unknown. Mm-hmm. He fell short. Literally the same rainstorm that delayed the start of the Indy 500 is the one that ended the Coca-Cola 600 early as it moved across the country. So the question then becomes, is he going to be able to make the 1,100 miles? So I think that's where some people temper their expectation or their anticipation, because it's like, okay, how's it going to happen?
Yeah, it was a letdown last year. Seeing him land from Paget in that lightning storm. I mean, we're all standing out there like, are they going to get in? Are they going to get in? He gets to pit road, and they call the race. We'll talk to Brad Panovich about what the weather's going to be like in Bolt City soon, but it looks pretty good to me. Right now, he's row 7, I think, position 19 for the 500 on the grid. Besides winning both, which is like a pipe dream for anybody to do, but he's as you said, he's been pretty good in the IndyCar before. What do you think would have this be a great success for Kyle Larson? Would it be winning the 600 and finishing the Indy 500, or a top 10 in the Indy 500?
So if you're greedy, well, he's going to win both, right? If you're a Kyle Larson fan. Beyond that, I think first, run all the laps. Let's get in the 1,100 miles, because that's the cool story of it. Kurt Busch was the last one to do it, finished 6th at Indy and blew an engine after 100 and something laps, running well at Charlotte. Run the 1,100 miles. That's number one. That's successful. Number two, let's start getting a little more greedy. Top 10 in both. How about that? Maybe top 5. Maybe you can win one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think the Coca-Cola 600 is obviously very doable because it's so long. But you never know what can happen. There's drama in both of these races. But I think number one is just run the laps. Say you completed it, and then let's start getting more and more greedy from there.
I ask this knowing that Tony Stewart completed all 1,100. I believe finished top 10 in each race 2 different years.
The second year.
Yeah. Does it feel different when Kyle Larson goes to Indy, though? Does it feel like this isn't just a NASCAR driver trying the Indy 500? Mm-hmm. Did it feel like that with Tony Stewart? I wasn't around for Tony Stewart's double duties, but it just feels like he has transcended motorsports a little bit. From, is he a NASCAR driver? Is he an IndyCar driver? Is he just a driver?
Yeah, you look at all the drivers that preceded Kyle Larson in doing this, John Andretti, Robbie Gordon, and Tony Stewart. They all had an IndyCar background. Yeah. Tony Stewart was an IndyCar champion, it's, he had that, and all along the way, he always talked about the Indy 500. Growing up in Indiana, it was this, because he was an Indiana person. That's what felt different about that one. Like, oh, Tony gets another chance at winning the Indy 500. Kurt Busch goes and does it, similar to Kyle Larson. He's not an IndyCar background, but Kurt Busch is a guy like, man, he can drive anything as well. He was very successful in NHRA when he tried the Pro Stock division also. I think what makes Kyle Larson different is because he races so many different types of car. He gets in the wing sprint car, and he's won all of their Crown Jewel events. He gets in a dirt late model and literally wins his first time out, then wins their Crown Jewel events. He goes out to the Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma, goes out and wins that event. It's Kyle Larson is the everything. So he's not the Indy guy who's running the Indy 500. He's the everything guy that's running the Indy 500.
All right, here wrapping up with Brad Gilley from Performance Racing Network as we talk about the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend. Let's just talk about the season so far. What has stood out to you through these 12 races of 2025 so far? As we mentioned, 12 races, 7 separate winners. What have been kind of some of the headlines and big storylines for you?
For me, we had big big storylines when Christopher Bell won 3 races in a row. Could he win 4 in a row?
Yeah.
And then Denny Hamlin goes and wins 2 races in a row. Ooh, could he be the next one for 3 in a row? Those things are really cool. But what's interesting is the most consistent drivers are actually some of the ones who haven't been to victory lane yet, like Chase Elliott. William Byron comes out and wins the Daytona 500, but we haven't really seen him in victory lane and not really contending much, although they've been fast every week. Kyle Larson wins and then might have a bad week with trouble and so on and so forth. Denny Hamlin, he goes out there and wins those 2 races, and then as a Texan, it's bad karma because he walked across the stage and gave the horns down, blew his engine, then the next week lost a clutch, then the next week is awful in the All-Star race. That karma's following him. But it's that. It's the people who have won. It's almost like in baseball, someone with a big batting average, but a bad on-base percentage. And I think that's sort of one of the stories we've seen.
Yeah. Does the Coca-Cola 600 serve as kind of a reset a little bit for the season, or a pivot point as we head into the summer?
Pivot point's the best way to put it, because if you look at, we've run a lot of NASCAR's traditional style tracks, from Martinsville to Darlington to Las Vegas, Texas, Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega, so on and so forth. And this is the halfway point of the regular season. 13 down, 13 to go before we get into the playoffs. So for the Coca-Cola 600, this is the beginning of summer. There is a shift. I mean, there just simply is a shift. Now we're going to go run 4 road course races in the next 13. We've got 2 speedway races with Atlanta and Daytona. We have tracks where we only go once a year: Michigan, Pocono, Nashville, Richmond, so on and so forth. Plus among those road courses we mentioned, Mexico City for the first time, Chicago Street Race, which is still fairly new. So this is the biggest variety in our schedule, biggest potential in our schedule as well, I feel, to find a unique winner, a Shane Van Gisbergen, a Brad Keselowski from 33rd in points, something like that.
Well, you talked about North Wilkesboro Speedway feeling like you're at the roots of NASCAR again. Does Charlotte Motor Speedway and the Coke 600 still have that feel? I mean, it goes all the way back to the World 600 and Bruton Smith. Does it still have that feel to you all these years later when you're there?
It does. It does for me as well. And I think it does for a lot of people too, and which is really cool. What I love about being at Charlotte Motor Speedway, you can walk around. I mean, this is a track that opened in 1961, right? And you can see things that were there when it opened. Then you can see all the modern amenities that were added onto it also. So that is one of the biggest things that I feel. And then I think of the list of winners, and it's literally been a who's who of NASCAR greats, from the Pettys and the Bakers and the Pearsons and so on and so forth. And Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Bobby Labonte getting their first career wins there. I mean, it's all of that history in one place. So yeah, this feels bigger when you get there.
All right, we'll be prepared for a long night, hopefully a fun night at the Coca-Cola 600 this Memorial Day Sunday. Brad Gilley from Performance Racing Network, thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it, man.
You got
awesome.
it. Good luck at the track.
All right. Brad Gilley, I didn't know he was a Texan, Carlene.
I didn't either. Actually, I've listened to him for a long time. I guess I don't know if I missed it or I didn't know that.
You'd get along with my husband. All right, fellow Longhorns. We are standing by for the Naval Academy graduation. It's set to start here at 10 o'clock, and Vice President Vance is supposed to deliver remarks as well. In the meantime, let's talk about some developing news this morning. President Trump this morning on his Truth Social around a couple of hours ago saying that he is threatening the EU with a sweeping 50% tariff, posting that trade talks with the EU are, quote, going nowhere. So not too long ago, again, he wrote, quote, recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting on June 1st, 2025. This also came minutes after the president threatened Apple, tech company Apple, with a 25% tariff if it does not start producing iPhones back in the U.S., something that we will be following here as the Trump administration now threatening the EU with a 50% tariff, 27 countries in the European bloc. All right, still standing by for the vice president in Annapolis, Maryland. In the meantime, we want to just talk about more NASCAR. This is more racing. I know you guys.
It's a big racing weekend.
If you are a NASCAR fan, if you're visiting Charlotte this morning or this weekend for Coca-Cola 600, wow, this morning is for you.
Yep.
And Dale Earnhardt making an appearance yesterday at Camp North End because there is a docu-series that is coming out. Our Nick Carboni also pulling a long day talking to Dale Earnhardt Jr. about this series and the excitement that's buzzing around it. Let's watch this now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Well, first of all, guys, congratulations. I guess, what is tonight like? What are you looking forward to about a world premiere and having it right here in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Well, we're super excited. It's unusual for me. I've not been a part of something like this, but just really excited to share this documentary with the world and to be here in our hometown and the hub of racing and all of that is very special.
Dale, I think you've been to some premieres before. Where does this one get to stack up? It's got your name on it.
Yeah, this was real personal for sure. Just happy to see the support that it's gotten from the industry, drivers like Ryan Blaney and some old friends. Just it's awesome to see all the people that wanted to come out and see the premiere. Fans can watch it at home on their couch and enjoy it today. We're gonna enjoy the reaction to that and all the feedback. And I think when they see the final 2 episodes, they'll really be blown away because I think it's a really good representation of Dad and who he was.
Well, we think we've known the family for decades. I'm sure you thought you knew your family for decades. What did you learn watching this?
I learned a lot actually about Kelly's perspective. I saw a lot of things, a lot of images, video that I'd never seen of Dad. I heard some incredible thoughts from his friends that they had never shared before. So for decades, there was a bit of a bit of an idea of keeping all of that under lock and key, keeping that to yourself. All of his friends were reluctant to share stories and their feelings and ideas because out of respect. And I think enough time's passed and there was enough support around this project that everybody felt really comfortable to open up and really share some new stories and some new perspective. So me and Kelly, I think, both learned quite a bit about our dad.
I'll ask this to you, Kelly. For decades, everybody's wanted to know the story of the family and wanted to pick apart and learn everything. What made you guys comfortable with allowing this project to do that?
I don't know that Dale and I really ever thought about doing a project like this, but, we were approached by Imagine and the Ron Howard team, and so, credibility right away with those names, and, as we got into it and saw what they were wanting to do and then working with us and sharing that story, it just came together and came to light. So I don't think we would have done something like this without some big names like that from the California area.
And final question, just spoke with the director about the archival footage. You had never seen footage of your grandfather, Ralph, before?
Well,
tell me about that.
I'll tell you about it. So my father showed me a video many, many years ago, and Dad said that to his understanding, this was the only video of Ralph talking and walking and moving around, right? So I'd never seen Ralph speak, never heard his voice until that day. This was back in the mid-90s. Dad showed me the video, we watched it, and in my mind, for all of my life, that was the only piece, and it's only a few minutes long. It's an interview he did after a race at Charlotte. And this group, Imagine, Kelly talked about how incredibly talented they are. They found new video that I'd never seen and no one had even realized was available. All of that stuff is still kept in individual private collections of family members or friends and people who were around in those days, and stuff that hadn't seen the light of day. And so it's not often I see something that I hadn't seen before, and there's a lot of that in this documentary.
Guys, it's a long way to the finish line. I'll let you go, but congratulations. Enjoy your night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, back out here now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It is 10 a.m. Friday morning. Thanks for joining us here on your Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV. If you downloaded the WCNC Plus app, we appreciate you. This is how we cover the news now in the Live Impact studio. It comes to us live at times. We bring those feeds to you raw and unedited as much as possible. We are right now going to turn to Annapolis, Maryland, where the Naval Academy graduation started. Military time, right on time. Okay, so they got to lead by example. So let's get right to it here, live on Impact News.
Vance is coming on stage.
And Vice President Vance now on stage delivering remarks this morning. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Blue Angels, the Navy's Precision Flight Demonstration Squadron, will be approaching momentarily from the south behind us in a salute to the class of 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite all of our guests to remain standing for our national anthem, sung by Midshipman First Class Quinn Gonzalez, and then the invocation by Captain Maurice Buford, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
Let us pray. Most gracious and triumphant God, we come to announce to the world that these warriors are ready to fight tonight. For the record reflects they have the moral clarity for the fog of war, the mental agility to outwit the opposition, and more importantly, the spiritual readiness to say on behalf of we the people, of the people, and by the people, that the best is yet to come. So would you stretch forth your hand and stir up our faith as a people? For only then will we know that all things are possible to those that dare to believe. Now receive all of your glory, your power, and your honor forever. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the 65th Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy, Vice Admiral Yvette M. Davids.
Good morning, 2025. What a glorious day it is. Welcome to the graduation and commissioning for the great class of 2025. There should be no question about the significance of today. We have the privilege of hosting our Vice President, the Honorable J.D. Vance, the Secretary of the Navy, Secretary Phelan, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Smith, and the Acting Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Kilby. Also joining us today is Senator Sullivan from the great state of Alaska, a former Marine and the chairman of the Naval Academy Board of Visitors. And esteemed members of the board, Congressman Jake Ellzey of Texas, a proud member of the class of '92, and former fighter pilot, and Congressman Derek Van Orden of Wisconsin, retired Navy SEAL. And Congressman Rob Bresnam of Pennsylvania is also with us today. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate the class of 2025. I'm honored you could be with us today. Class of 2025, this week has been a whirlwind for you. So please allow yourself a brief moment to take it all in. Look around, go ahead, at your classmates next to you. Now up at the stands, find your family and friends and sponsor families and loved ones. Give them a wave. To all of the parents, grandparents, guardians, and mentors out in the crowd, I want to thank you for instilling the values that attracted your midshipmen to want to serve and to live a life of consequence. We are forever in your debt. And thank you to our amazing and incredible dedicated faculty, staff, coaches, and sponsor families who contributed to this class's development into officers of character dedicated to the profession of arms. So 2025, to those who have challenged you and pushed you to achieve greater things than you thought possible, to those who have supported you and mentored you, please join me in giving them a heartfelt round of applause. And thank you to all who have worked so diligently to set up this beautiful ceremony and to make this commissioning week so special. We appreciate you. A special welcome to the members of the class of 1975, 2025's link in the chain. 50 years ago, they graduated from our academy, and today they represent that 50-year link and shared heritage with the class of 2025. Thank you, class of 75, for being so active in the lives of these midshipmen since I-Day, inspiring them with wisdom, insight, and legacy. Now, 2025, I again ask that you look around, but this time, look at the exquisite Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium you are in. Around the stadium, you will find the names of several U.S. Navy battles, engagements, and pivotal moments in our history. These names represent the Navy and Marine Corps' legacy from 1775 to 1845 to today. Each and every one of you is now an integral part of that legacy. So 25, look at these names, and now I want you each to pick one name that you can see, and I want you to remember that name, dedicate that name to memory. That name, it represents more than just a battle, more than just naval tactics and strategy or historical facts. The name you chose represents hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of Americans, sailors, and Marines, naval officers who were once just like you, who rose to answer the call to service, who rose to the challenge of their age and chose to risk all in the service of others. So 2025, while this stadium is a physical symbol and memorial to our Navy and our Marine Corps, always remember that you are the living legacy. You are the young people of our age who have chosen a life of service. Remember that name, and remember that you are assuming a rich heritage, a great honor, and a sacred obligation. But you have been preparing for this day and the assumption of those incredible responsibilities for the past 1,423 days since I-Day. Although this adventure is coming to a close, you are about to embark on many more. You are headed around the globe to places like Quantico, Pensacola, San Diego, Charleston, Norfolk, to Sasebo, Rhoda, and Hawaii, and to our international classmates who are soon to head home. A special congratulations to you. You each have an incredible future awaiting you. But know, Annapolis will always be here for you, and the Naval Academy will always be your home. And this moment right now, surrounded by your classmates and the legacy of those before you, this moment will be one of those that you will never forget. It will join other fond memories of crawling through mud and over obstacles at sea trials, bearing each other's weight as a team at Herndon twice, and swimming side by side at the first ever shellback ceremony. It will join memories of gloriously beating Army at every opportunity, of morning workouts with classmates before the sun has risen, the intensity of finals weeks, of incredible summer trainings across the globe that helped you find your operational calling, to your exceptional academic research capstone projects, and to the world-class musical and theatrical performances that showcase immense talent. And all of those shared experiences culminated today in your commissioning. And while today is the end of one chapter, it's the beginning of your careers as Navy and Marine Corps officers. On I-Day, you represented different corners of our nation and globe with different life circumstances and experiences. But now, at commissioning, you are a proud class of ethical warfighters who better understand the sacred oath you first took 4 years ago and will soon take again today. While we can never know with certainty what the future will hold for you or for our country, we do know that you are assuming a vital role. Your sacred obligation to our nation is to be prepared and to make sure that you and those that you lead are ready to both preserve peace and decisively win when called upon. Vice President Vance, Secretary Phelan, Commandant Smith, Acting CNO Kilby, and to all my shipmates out in the fleet, I want you to know the class of 2025 is strong. They are prepared and they are ready. 2025, your Naval Academy family is incredibly proud of you. I'm incredibly proud of you, and I can't wait to see what you will accomplish in the years ahead. It is now my pleasure to introduce our 79th Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable John C. Phelan.
Well, I've been to many events, but this may be the coolest visual I've seen, so congratulations, really awesome. Mr. Vice President, Commandant, Acting Chief of Naval Operations, Superintendent, distinguished guests, faculty, staff, families, and most importantly, the class of 2025, good morning. Morning. Admiral Davids, thank you for the kind introduction. Serving as the 79th Secretary of the Navy is a privilege of my lifetime, and I thank President Trump for his trust and confidence in appointing me to this role. And it's a particular honor to welcome and thank Vice President J.D. Vance for his presence today. As a Marine and combat veteran, Vice President Vance represents what makes this nation great: courage forged through hardship, service defined by humility, and deep, unshakable belief that this country is worth fighting for. From the hills of Ohio to the battlefields of Iraq, and now to the halls of leadership in the White House, Vice President Vance's journey reminds us that honor is not given, it is earned. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your example, your service, and your continued leadership. I'm truly honored and humbled to address the newest class of officers who will soon carry the weight of command and the hopes of our nation on their shoulders. You have earned the right to wear the uniform, not merely through the rigor of academics or the trials of Bancroft Hall, but through your daily commitment to something larger than yourselves. Today is a celebration, but it is also a moment of transition. In a matter of days, you will be entrusted with lives, with missions vital to our national security, and with the legacy of those who came before you. From today forward, you are more than midshipmen. You are leaders in the Navy and Marine Corps, officers in a force that stands guard over freedom on every ocean, in every time zone, every hour of every day. That's no small thing. But let me be honest with you. What you're about to step into is not easy. The pace of change is accelerating. The threats are growing more sophisticated. The burden of leadership is heavier than ever, but so is the opportunity. The opportunity to shape the future of naval warfare, the opportunity to lead diverse, talented teams in ways that will define missions and even save lives. The opportunity to be exactly the kind of leader the world needs now. Smart, grounded, resilient, humble, and courageous. What will define you from this moment on is not your commission or your class rank or even your service selection. What will define you is how you lead when the pressure is on, when the plan falls apart, when lives are at stake, and when everyone around you looks to you for calm and courage. Leadership is never about you, it's about those you serve. General John Lejeune had it right when he said the relationship between officers and enlisted must be like teacher and scholar, not superior and inferior. Your people will teach you more than you expect. Respect that. Learn from them. Lead them well. You are not simply to give orders. You are to grow those under your command into something better. Instill in them the core values of honor, courage, and commitment, not just with words, but through example. Now, a quick word about values: honor, courage, commitment. These aren't just words etched on academy walls or printed in manuals. They are your compass. And in a future filled with new technologies, cyber threats, and global instability, character will matter more than ever. You are inheriting a fleet that sails in a world full of complexity and consequence. We face adversaries who test the rule-based order at sea. We operate in an environment where innovation moves at the speed of relevance, and we must be agile, accountable, and adaptive, because lethality is just not about firepower. It is about clarity of purpose, efficiency of action, and unity of command. Admiral Rickover, the father of the nuclear Navy, once said, "Responsibility is a unique concept. You may share it with others, but your portion is not diminished." You cannot delegate accountability. When the mission falters, your name is on the line. When it succeeds, share the credit. That is leadership. There will be days when you'll feel the weight or burden of leadership. That's natural. But on those days, remember this: you are not alone. You stand on the shoulders of those who came before you and beside shipmates who will have your back in ways that will stay with you for the rest of your life. You are stepping into a future that will test you, but I believe, we believe, the American people believe you are ready. Ready to innovate, ready to inspire, ready to lead in a Navy and Marine Corps that is evolving, modernizing, and building a more lethal, adaptable, and resilient force. You are the future of that force. So take pride in what you've achieved, take responsibility for what comes next, and take care of those you are privileged to lead. Your commission is more than a contract. It is a covenant with the American people. They trust you to defend this nation with honor, to wield power with restraint, and to lead with integrity even when no one is watching. So class of 2025, step forward with confidence, but carry within you the humility of those who came before. From the decks of destroyers to the cockpits of strike aircraft, from forward operating bases to submarines beneath the sea, you'll be the tip of the spear and the steady hand behind it. In closing, know this, your country is proud of you, not just for what you've done, but for who you've chosen to become. You are not just graduates, you are defenders of the Constitution, ambassadors of liberty, and the next generation of American leaders. May God bless you, your families, and the United States of America. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the 50th Vice President of the United States, the Honorable J.D. Vance.
There you go, sir. Thank you. Knock that down there. Thank you. Well, it is great to be with you here on this incredible day, and I gotta say, it's a pretty cool trick where when people say good morning, you guys say it back in unison. So let me say good morning to the class of 2025. Good morning, sir. I want to say, first of all, thank you all for having me, and thank you especially to Vice Admiral Davids and Captain Allman for your hospitality. Thank you as well, of course, to Secretary Phelan for that great speech, Admiral Kilby, and General Smith for all that you do for our country. First off, I want to say, both from me and from President Trump, congratulations to the class of 2025. I want to say congratulations not just to you all, because you all have certainly earned a great honor, but congratulations to the families, the friends, the faculty, plus the other midshipmen and service members who join us on this beautiful morning and share in this incredible day. Now, it's always dangerous to give a politician a microphone, but I know that I am one of the very last things standing between you and your commission and your diploma. And so, out of respect, I just want you to know that this is only going to be a 3.5 or 4 hour speech. I hope you all brought your sunscreen because it's bright out here. But today is such an incredible day for you. Tonight, you'll celebrate in the finest tradition of the United States Naval Academy with great food and, of course, maybe a little drink. But I hope that as you celebrate, you remember that this is not just your day, as hard as you have worked for it. This day belongs to parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, brothers, sisters, and so many others. You, all of you, are the product of an incredible legacy. People who worked hard to give you a good education, food on the table, and a sense of possibility. People who took you to church, to practices, to tutoring sessions. People who prayed for you when you struggled and celebrated with you at moments just like today. Most of you are fortunate enough to have someone here to celebrate with you. Some of you don't. But whether they are here with you or not, the very best piece of advice I can give you is to begin your life in the fleet with a spirit of gratitude. Be thankful for all the people gathered here today and those who aren't, because they made you who you are and they got you to where you are today. And I hope you'll take from that gratitude a sense of duty. You owe it to the American people, to yourselves, but most of all to the people who sacrificed so hard to get you here. You owe it to them to do the best job you can, and I know that is exactly what you're going to do. Now, it's customary in speeches like this for people like me to offer words of congratulations and maybe a little bit of advice. Of course, I just did exactly that. But you're not just graduates of some random university about to embark on careers in the private sector, and I'm not just giving another political speech. I'm your vice president, and the minute you walk off this stage with your diploma and your commission, you will be officers in the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps, and that is an incredible thing. You will be leaders of men and women in our armed forces. So while President Trump and I congratulate you on this incredible achievement, I also thought it would be appropriate to tell you a bit about how the President and I think of your mission in this new and very dangerous era for our country. Now, last week, the President took a very historic trip to the Middle East, meeting with heads of state in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Most of the headlines focused on the trillions of dollars of new investment the President secured for our country, and that's, of course, an important thing. But I actually think the most significant part of that trip is that it signified the end of a decades-long approach in foreign policy that I think was a break from the precedent set by our founding fathers. We had a long experiment in our foreign policy that traded national defense and the maintenance of our alliances for nation building and meddling in foreign countries' affairs, even when those foreign countries had very little to do with core American interests. What we're seeing from President Trump is a generational shift in policy with profound implications for the job that each and every one of you will be asked to do. Now, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, our policymakers assumed that American primacy on the world stage was guaranteed. For a brief time, we were a superpower without any peer, nor did we believe any foreign nation could possibly rise to compete with the United States of America. And so our leaders traded hard power for soft power. We stopped making things, everything from cars to computers to the weapons of war, like the ships that guard our waters and the weapons that you will use in the future. Why did we do that? Well, too many of us believed that economic integration would naturally lead to peace by making countries like the People's Republic of China more like the United States. Over time, we were told the world would converge toward a uniform set of bland, secular, universal ideals, regardless of culture or country. And those that didn't want to converge, well, our policymakers would make it their goal to force them by any means necessary. So instead of devoting our energies to responding to the rise of near-peer competitors like China, our leaders pursued what they assumed would be easy jobs for the world's preeminent superpower. How hard could it be to build a few democracies in the Middle East? Well, almost impossibly hard, it turns out, and unbelievably costly. And it wasn't our politicians who bore the consequences of such a profound miscalculation. It was the American people, to the tune of trillions of dollars, but more than anyone, it was borne by the people who were in your shoes just a few short years ago, by our service members and their families. The tens of thousands of warfighters who sacrificed precious time, energy, and in some cases their very lives in the line of duty. They are the ones who bore the costs of past failure. Our leaders abandoned clearly stated strategic goals for lofty, often incoherent abstractions. This is how, for example, we wound up chasing a $230 million pier in Gaza that worked for a grand total of 20 days while injuring over 60 American service members in the construction and maintenance of that pier. Our government took its eye off the ball of great power competition and preparing to take on a peer adversary, and instead, we devoted ourselves to sprawling, amorphous tasks like searching for new terrorists to take out while building up faraway regimes. Now, I want to be clear. The Trump administration has reversed course. No more undefined missions, no more open-ended conflicts. We're returning to a strategy grounded in realism and protecting our core national interests. Now, this doesn't mean that we ignore threats, but it means that we approach them with discipline, and that when we send you to war, we do it with a very specific set of goals in mind. And consider how this played out in just the last major conflict we engaged in with the Houthis over in the Middle East. We went in with a clear diplomatic goal, not to enmesh our service members in a prolonged conflict with a non-state actor, but to secure American freedom of navigation by forcing the Houthis to stop attacking American ships. And that's exactly what we did. We pursued that goal through overwhelming force against Houthi military targets. In just the first 100 days of the administration, we were able to reach a ceasefire in a conflict that had been ongoing for nearly 2 years. That's how military power should be used, decisively, with a clear objective. We ought to be cautious in deciding to throw a punch, but when we throw a punch hard, and we do it decisively, and that's exactly what we may ask you to do. Now, that shift in thinking from ideological crusades to a principled foreign policy will help restore the credibility of American deterrence in 2025 and beyond. With the Trump administration, our adversaries now know when the United States sets a red line, it will be enforced. And when we engage, we do so with purpose, with superior force, with superior weapons, and with the best people anywhere in the world. Let me say something about weapons and the future of warfare. It is, of course, a priority of this administration, not just to keep, but to widen the technological edge between the United States military and our adversaries all over the world. In the wake of the Cold War, America enjoyed a mostly unchallenged command of the commons: airspace, sea, space, and cyberspace. But the era of uncontested U.S. dominance is over. Today, we face serious threats in China, Russia, and other nations determined to beat us in every single domain, from spectrum to low Earth orbit to our supply chains and even our communication infrastructure. Technology has lowered the cost of disruption, and so we must be, all of us, not just smarter. We got to make sure that we send our troops to war, we do it with the right tools. We can no longer assume our engagements will come without cost. That's why the Trump administration is investing in innovation, rewarding risk takers at the Department of Defense, and streamlining weapons acquisition for the new century. Investing in cutting-edge weaponry like hypersonics is important, but just as important are the low-cost, high-impact technologies that are already transforming the battlefield, things like drones. And by the way, when we talk about innovation, innovation is not just happening in the laboratory of a defense contractor. Innovation increasingly is happening on the very battlefields that you will lead troops on. So that you are not just recipients of innovation, you're not just users of tools, you will very often be developing tools in this new century. Our lawmakers and military brass alike must learn to adjust to a world where cheap drones, readily available cruise missiles, and cyber attacks cause extraordinary damage to our military assets and our service members. And it will be you, the graduates gathered here today, who will lead the way for the rest of us. Your service will bring new challenges and environments, including ones unfamiliar even to those who have served before you. You will deploy new equipment, new systems, and new technology. And through those experiences, it is you who will learn, who will teach others, and will help our services and our entire country adapt to the future we're confronting. Now, the extraordinary education you have received is an investment by the American people, an investment not only in your courage, but in the strength of your minds and the promise of your leadership. Because your nation rests easier knowing that we have the most brilliant strategists and tacticians standing guard. Men and women like you, brilliant enough to preempt and, if called, fight and win the wars of tomorrow. And as technological change continues to transform the battlefield, it only heightens the importance for this administration, for our whole country, on investing in our military's human capital. That's you, in the well-being of our warfighters, in your brilliance, in your strategic innovation. Modernization isn't just about tactics and tools. It's about meeting the needs of our service members. For too long, we asked too much of too few. Past leaders sent our service members on mission after mission with no exit strategy, no end in sight, and with little articulation for the American people or for the warfighters about what we were doing. When we extend the deployment of an aircraft carrier, that has real impact on people's lives, and we're aware of it. They miss their families, of course they miss their loved ones and their home life. They accept that sacrifice, and that's the job that you've taken on. But the job that we have taken on is to never misuse that sacrifice or never ask you to do something without a clear mission and a clear path home. The Trump administration recognizes that our most valuable resources, it's you. It's young people who are brave enough to put on the uniform and risk your life for this country. And we promise, I promise, to cultivate that resource, to protect it, and to use it only when the national interest demands. And what makes your new life so unique is that you must take multiple perspectives. You will be junior officers, of course, answerable to commanders, captains, admirals, generals, and people like me. You will have to follow orders, even when you don't want to. And if I can offer one piece of advice from a junior enlisted guy to a bunch of new officers, to say that when you say with all due respect, that is not a get out of jail free card. I got chewed, these guys are laughing back here. I got chewed out more times than I can remember because I assumed that I could say whatever I wanted to so long as I said with all due respect before it. That's not how it works out. You learn that the hard way. But importantly, you are not just following orders. More often than not, you will be giving them. And just as I see you as our most precious resource, so you must see the men and women who call you sir and ma'am as your most sacred charge. You will not just be another boss. You will counsel them through triumph and tragedy. You will learn that there is no clear line between personal and professional for officers in the Navy and Marine Corps. But I encourage you to see them not just as people who must follow your orders, but as leaders in their own right with incredible wisdom and incredible potential. Now, this is shocking to think about, but there are senior enlisted people who started their careers in the Navy or the Marine Corps before you were born, who will call you sir and ma'am and follow your orders. Think about what an incredible honor that is. And think about what an incredible opportunity it is, not just to lead these men and women, but also to learn from these men and women. And that is the task before you. You will lean on that experience, of course, but still, you're very often, more often than not, you're going to be the one in charge. That is an honor, but it's a responsibility that ought to give you chills. You've made it now through one of the most demanding institutions in the entire world. You've earned your commissions, and you've stepped forward to serve at a moment when your country needs you now more than ever. But you're stepping into gigantic shoes, and it's worth taking stock of that as you prepare to receive your commission. Those of us who've served know that graduates of the Naval Academy, they have a certain energy, a certain aura, a certain respect when they're out there in the fleet. Let me just give you an example.
Right now, you are looking at Vice President Vance delivering commencement remarks at the Naval Academy commencement ceremony in Annapolis, Maryland. Right side of your screen there, you could see that we are covering some breaking news from our content partner in Houston, Texas. Large fire breaking out near a hotel off I-10, IH-10 there off the freeway. You can see all of that white to light gray smoke with Houston Fire battling that fire. So we're going to stay on top of both of these stories. We'll turn you back now to the Vice President's remarks.
Every Memorial Day, I think about a graduate of this institution, Major Megan McClung. She was an officer I served with. She was bright, tough, and incredibly dedicated to her job. She arrived in Iraq not long after me and was killed in action not long after that. She loved this institution, and like so many that came before her, she built on its legacy in the way that she served her country. Now, there are so many stories of great service in this institution. I look at these signs on this stadium: Belleau Wood, Midway, Guadalcanal. These are battles I read about in history books or learned about when I was a United States Marine. If you just try to read a list of the people who served after graduating from this institution, the list is almost so long you can't get through it. Senior leaders, commandants of the Marine Corps, chiefs of naval operations, astronauts, great business leaders, and even a few lowly politicians have graduated from the United States Naval Academy. Their service is an incredible legacy that they have passed on to you, and you are the bridge that connects the incredible heritage of this institution to the future duties and responsibilities your country needs you to perform. That's an incredible honor, but it's also an incredible responsibility, and I hope you take it seriously. People will look at you as graduates of the Naval Academy in a different way than they look at most of the people that you will meet every single day. They will look at you that way, yes, because you've worked hard, and yes, because you deserve this day, but they will also look at you differently because you stand on the shoulders of giants. And 20, 30, or 40 years from now, there are people who are going to be standing on your shoulders. So please remember that. Please take it seriously, and please recognize that you become part of a brotherhood and sisterhood that will enable you to do great things, that will support you as you do them, but will ask you to give back as you should in return. You are the inheritors of a national tradition dating back 250 years. It began with John Paul Jones, and the founders of this country asked the United States Navy to take on the most powerful Navy on earth, and we won. Our first patriots knew the stakes. They did not seek out war. They did everything they could to advocate and petition for their own liberties. But when the time came, they raised a military, they raised a Navy, and they fought like hell. Their examples lives on in all of you. In their courage, we see the roots of your calling to be strong but not reckless, to seek peace but never at the expense of liberty, to hold firm to your convictions even when the cost is high. Now, I want to say to all of you, I've been vice president for all of about 120 days, and this summer I will celebrate my 41st birthday. but I have never, in those 41 years, been so proud as I am today, to honor you, to celebrate you, and to congratulate you on a job well done. Now, I'm sure some of you share my politics and some of you don't. But I know today I speak for a grateful nation when I say we are rooting for you. Naval Academy Class of 25, we are proud of you and we depend on you. Congratulations, Godspeed, and do great work.
All right, you're listening to Vice President Vance delivering his remarks there at the Naval Academy, their commencement special day for our future sailors and officers for the U.S. Defense. Let's take you back out to Houston now and just show you the latest here on a fire in East Harris County. This is happening at the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Channelview. If you have friends or family in that area, that is what it looks like. So the white smoke showing that they are making some quick progress here. But some of the pictures that we were looking at showed that it looked like that bottom floor was boarded up.
We noticed there's no cars in the parking lot either. So our contact partner KHOU said it's unclear whether it's occupied or not.
Okay.
You know.
But we saw the roof completely collapsed.
Yeah.
So a real major mess there off IH-10 in Harris County. As you can see by that picture, traffic is slowing down through the area as well. But it's also showing signs of progress on a fire. Breaking news out of Houston right now. I want to bring you back now into the Cleveland County area. We're also following some developing news here from the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office. They posted a video on Facebook with May 25th, this Sunday, being National Missing Children's Day. The reward to find any information to Aisha Degree has been raised to $75,000. They posted a video now. Let's go ahead and play that for you and get you caught up here with breaking news out of Cleveland County on Aisha Degree. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+.
It's everybody's goal in the community to find out what happened to Aisha, to bring her home. With the tight-knit community, we all want the same resolution. We want answers. We want to bring her home. This has never been a cold case. We've always worked it as if it happened yesterday. The technology that was available in 2000 was not what it is today. So in 2001, her book bag was found along Highway 18 in Morganton. Resources were brought in and that evidence was tested.
We've been working this case for 25 years, constantly working it. But just recently, and I'm sure everyone has seen or even heard about some of the things that happened around September. We've got, based on that, the information that we got, we continue to work with our FBI, State Bureau of Investigation.
It is the desire, the hope and desire of every employee here at the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office, along with our federal and state partners, to bring Aisha home, to bring closure.
Still, even today, especially 25 years later, with the momentum, tons and tons of work, tons of resources, money, just thoughts, ideas, new technology, stuff is going into play. And it's a good thing, and hopefully it brings us closure here soon.
Right. And we bring you back out here now in the Live Impact Studio on WCNC Plus. Some breaking news out of Cleveland County, raising the reward money to $75,000, trying to get information and to find Aisha Degree. Take you back out to Maryland now. The Naval Academy graduation ceremony taking place. The Vice President finishing up his remarks, and we'll take you back out here with a live picture of the hotel fire in Houston, Texas as well.
Well, good morning. Yeah, that sounds about right. Congratulations on this milestone achievement, and thank you for making the decision to serve. Today you take your place in the ranks of Marine officers, a role of immense trust, responsibility, and consequence. You're joining a corps forged in battle, defined by discipline, and bound by an unshakable commitment to mission and to each other. This is not the end of a book. This is the beginning of a whole new chapter. From this day forward, you are accountable for the lives, welfare, and success of the Marines you will lead. We don't lose. We're United States Marines. Your Marines won't follow you because of your rank. They'll follow you because of your example, your judgment, and your character. You're inheriting a legacy built by those who led with courage at Belleau Wood, ingenuity at Incheon, and resolve in Ramadi. The legacy is now yours to carry, to protect, and to pass on to the next generation of Marines. The oath you're about to take is a pledge to defend the Constitution, to uphold our values, and to lead with honor at all times. It binds you to something greater than yourself, to the nation, the Corps, and the Marines who will look to you for strength when it matters most, when the chips are down. You are not entering the unknown. You're stepping into a tradition of excellence, guided by those who came before you and supported by those who now stand beside you. The path ahead will be the most demanding period of your life, but it will also be the most rewarding work you'll ever do. We're proud to welcome you into the Marine Corps as officers. The nation expects much from you, and we know that you're ready. Graduates to be commissioned in the United States Marine Corps, rise. Raise your right hands. Having been appointed as Second Lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps to rank from 23 May 2025, I'll ask you this. Do you hereby accept such appointment? And do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God. Second Lieutenants, take your seats.
Get him, Adley. All right, for the rest of you, the Acting Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Jim Kilby, United States Navy, will administer the oath of office to those being commissioned into the United States Navy. Admiral Kilby, I present 764 midshipmen of the graduating class to be commissioned into the Navy.
Well, good morning. Vice President Vance, Secretary Phelan, General Smith, Vice Admiral Davids, parents, family and friends of the class of 2025, it's an honor to be here with you today. I want to echo those before me in taking a moment to recognize all of the families and friends present. Each of you
had a profound impact on the men and women in front of me, instilling in them the values, will, and courage to serve something greater than themselves, a decision that sets them apart from their peers. Thank you for your continued support. Class of 2025, congratulations on joining the world's premier maritime fighting force. For 250 years, the United States Navy has provided our nation with the sea power and sea control needed to preserve our security, prosperity, and economic wealth. This year has been no different. Just take a look at our actions in the Indo-Pacific, in the Red Sea, and at the southern border. Soon, you will take your place in this Navy, delivering lethality and combat credibility against our nation's adversaries. I can think of no better time to join our fleet, and I can think of no better group of officers to meet this opportunity. Class of 2025, don't underestimate the significance of today. 39 years and 2 days ago, I was sitting right where you are, here in the Navy and Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. And in just a few moments, you will raise your right hand and swear an oath to the Constitution. You will be joining millions of Americans throughout our nation's rich history who have taken the same oath to support, protect, and defend. I am counting on you to uphold these same ideals that your predecessors fought for, to uphold our Navy's legacy, to honor courage and commitment. As I close, let me leave you with a few thoughts. First, service is a gift. It's a gift to our nation, and a gift that I know you've learned to appreciate. Wear your uniform.
You are watching live here, the Navy Academy with their commencement underway, and everyone has been sworn in, I guess, as second lieutenants, officers now, moving onwards and upwards into the U.S. Navy. Right side of your screen, of course, is the breaking news out of Houston, Texas. That fire at a hotel looks like it is getting under control. We are going to leave you with this picture, and Charlotte Today is coming up next. Have a good, long, safe weekend. I will be back on Monday.